Hello, and welcome to Better Betting. Here are your hosts, the king of Timonium, Gary Quill, and the ruler of the replays, Eric Rubin.
Hey, and welcome to Better Betting. My name is Eric Rubin, and I'm here with my partner, the king of Timonium, Gary Quill. GQ, how be you?
Much better than you. I see you got Naira Betts there in the background showing the pick five that you came up short on, but that's okay. It's why we talk about races in the future. And
That's
today's
true.
show, we're once again on the streak of going back to Saratoga, just hoping that Mother Nature one day, one fine Saturday, will allow the fields to not be filled with scratches and the turf races be run with full fields. If not, we're going to be going to the Big T, Timonium Fairgrounds, which is where I'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the following week for the Maryland State Fair, where the best of Maryland racing, the 7 best days of Maryland racing, happens at the Big T. So that's my spa, if you wish.
Yes, and looking forward, I expect to see you on the Timonium feed. So those GQ fans, look for that Timonium feed. Hopefully Frank is listening, which he probably isn't, but if you are, let's get our boy GQ on the air, and the millions of people watching the Timonium feed will see him. Maybe we can put up Better Betting underneath your name and get a few
for
more
a
listeners.
price, maybe, I'll try to do my best Maggie Wolfendale impersonation outside the Big T paddock. So it would be cool if I would actually go in the paddock, but the Timonium paddock, for anyone who actually took the time to look at the feed, is about the size of the average kitchen. So it would be kind of dangerous with a cameraman and GQ trying to avoid all the crazy horses that are running at the Big T. So, but
yeah,
we digress. We are on to Travers weekend, and as usual, we go over a pick 5 sequence, and we're doing the late pick 5 on the 14 race card on Travers Day. So the late pick 5 starts off with race 10, which is the 7 furlong grade 1 ballerina, $500,000 purse. It's a handicap for fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward on the dirt, 7 furlongs. So Eric, start us off.
All right. So when you're looking at the pick 5 here, or just the race in general, I guess you got to start with the big favorite, the 3, Vava. I'll scroll down for those watching the video. Thank you for watching. If you could subscribe on the bottom, don't believe it costs anything, and really helps us out. So we'd appreciate that, as long as you don't hate it. If you want to make some comments, feel free to do that too. So far, only a few comments, but they've all been either positive or at least neutral. So we thank you for avoiding the negative comments. But anyway, Bob is obviously the horse to beat in this spot. Looking at the pick 5, there's really 2 horses, I think. They're going to be the 2 most singled horses, Vava being the most singled. And then we'll talk about next race being the second most likely single. So if you can beat Vava, that's very, very valuable for your pick 5 ticket. The problem is I don't know if I want to try playing Vava. And that's my problem with this pick 5. I don't really want to try and beat Vava, but at the same time, I don't really want to bet her and single her like everyone else. So I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do at this point, but we can analyze the race and talk about some options. Vava's obviously run really well. She's coming off a nice victory at Churchill against a few of these. I'm just I don't know what you guys see, but I'm going to slide our little faces there. I don't know if that comes up to you anyway, but it was blocking my vision on the screen. So Vava beat the 1, Positano Sunset, beat the 2, Chi-Town Lady, and beat the 4, Society Last Out in kind of convincing fashion at the 7 furlong distance. So the horse to beat. I don't, unless there's like some kind of major speed duel, I don't know if the 1, Positano Sunset, or the 2, Chi-Town Lady can really turn the tables on Vava. They're also a little older horse. At least the 2 is already 5-year-old, so I don't know how much she's getting better. The 1, Positano Sunset, at least ran much better last time, but can she take another step forward? I wouldn't talk you off of long shots. The interesting horse is Society. And I think the interesting thing is the pace of the race. And GQ, maybe I'll turn it over to you in about 20 seconds for that. But Society's obviously run races good enough to win this, and races you can argue are better than Vava's races, but they were last year. On the comeback off of that layoff against Vava in June at Churchill, Society blew a very easy lead. Now, she went fast, so it wasn't like she didn't do any running, but she did blow an easy lead. Thing is, it was a layoff, and she has every right to step forward now, second off a layoff. If you look last year, I don't know if I can really highlight it. She came off a layoff in the Madison and ran okay, but then her second start, she tried to go long, so I can excuse that. And then the next start was like a really good one at Ellis. But again, that's probably dressed up on that Ellis Park Speed track. So I'm kind of more against Society than in favor, but I can totally understand why you like Society. I guess the big question is, do you think that 8 GQ is going to go and Society is going to go and they're going to kind of kill each other? Or do you see it some other way?
Well, I think Society is just maybe a tad bit faster than the 8, even though the 8 Money's Gold kind of has the advantage being on the far outside. Typically the speed horses, further outside have the advantage, but I don't see Gaffleone trying to change any tactics or whatever. Maybe one or the other will try to discourage each one by kind of getting the upper hand and kind of beating the break per se. The filly that I'm interested in, since like the first 3 or as you pointed out, the fillies in 1 through 4 all ran against one another last time out, the Grade 3 Chicago. I like Celia, or I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. The 5 horse. She's coming back in 21 days, which is kind of quick for this level, fillies. But she kind of did it back in the spring when, but she was just coming back after a Grade 3 win at Keeneland in April, and then coming back at Churchill and won a non-winners 2 other than. But I think she has the tactical type of speed that could just sit off a hot pace and come on late, coming off of that Hirsch Grade 1 against Adair Manor, who is quite the filly. So coming from actually, she just shipped out to Del Mar, and she trains typically at Churchill Downs. So for 7-2, I'm not going to get 7-2 on this filly in the past, and maybe not in the future. So if I can get 7-2 on the 5 Scylla, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm not against Scylla also. I've long liked this horse ever since she ran Gulfstream. I thought she ran great. So I'm not against Scylla. And the other horse who I didn't think I would like, and I know she looks a little slow, but that's the 7 Acide. And the reason I didn't think I'd like her is because I really didn't like her going into the last race that much. For those who remember the Honorable Miss, another small field stakes race at Saratoga, which is the norm for Saratoga, unfortunately. Great track without the stakes races, but when you put the stakes races in the rain in, it kills it. But anyway, I thought Acide ran really well last time. She did save ground, but she was the only one closing in a paceless race. Spirit Wind just galloped on the front end with, I think Mike Smith might have been aboard, came in for the ride, clearly unhinged, was second the whole way. And Acide made up ground. I was very impressed with that. I think the extra furlong is no problem for her. It even helps her. She can sit off the pace, but doesn't be that far back. So if the 4 and 8 go at it, I think she'll be in a good spot. She's got to step up, but like to me, she's improving. She came off the layoff, got that 86 buyer, 88 next time, didn't love it, but did her job. And then last time she got the 89, but to me, that was higher because of the way she ran. So she can just take another step forward. I don't know if that puts her ahead of Vava, but I think it puts her right there with everyone else. So I'm kind of leaning to Vava and then the 5-7, which is Acide and Scylla. Those are the words I'm most interested in. Gun to my head, I just single Vava, suck it up, because I am going to leave out some other favorites. So I think I could do that. But those are the 3 that I would contemplate. Now, if you're trying to beat Vava in a pick 5, I can't blame you for going deep. Like, if I was trying to beat Vava and I didn't have a strong opinion, if I was out there, I would just say use whoever you think can win, even if you have to go 6 deep, because beating Vava is going to be very valuable in this spot. Jiki, you want to add anything else in the race? Or you want to move on? Your call.
No, that's what I was just going to ask you. It's like if people see Vava as the sure winner, does this pick five just basically just become a pick four if she wins? Because majority of tickets are going to have her singled, and so there goes the value.
Yes and no. I mean, yes, I think she'll be the largest single, which is something you usually want to avoid if you can. But they are, believe it or not, really big fields. I mean, every race has like 10. This is the only race with, what is it, 8 horses? I think every other race has 10
the next
horses.
race has 8 also.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I'm confused. I'm studying 80 days in advance, but I thought there were decent fields. I think there's some competitive races, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily a pick four. It's not like a 1 to 5 shot that wins, but yeah, it definitely is going to hurt your value if Fava wins. But if you like a lot of other favorites, then maybe try and beat her. That's something you might want. But again, it's really up to your opinion on what you think about Vava.
All right, cool. So we'll move on to leg 2, race 11 on Saturday at Saratoga. It's the 7 furlong grade 1 forgo, $500,000 purse for 4-year-olds and upward. 7 furlongs on the dirt. It's a field of 8, and the morning line favorite, I believe, is the 6 Mulligan. What do you think, Eric?
Yeah, this is the other horse that will be singled a lot or on a lot of tickets. Probably the second most likely single next to Vava. And I respect Mulligan. If I use Vava and Mulligan, I have no desire to bet this pick 5, because what's going to happen is people are going to go short in Vava race, Mulligan race, whether it's single or 2 deep or something like that. And we'll talk about the other races, but spread, and maybe you have to narrow one of those races. So if you have Vava and Mulligan, unless you're like totally tossing favorites, I just don't think it's worth a pick 5. Plus, do you want to spend $100 on a pick 5 where you're kind of singling the 2 chalks in the first leg? You might as well bet the double, which I wouldn't do either. It's like a Jonathan Kinchin bet, right? Just hammer 2 chalks, which is not my style, because you got to win so often that it's not worth the payoff. But anyway, I'm going to take a stab against Mulligan. My only fear, and I respect Mulligan, it's not like I hate the horse or think the horse is no good. I'm just worried that he might get an easy lead. That's my only fear. I know the pace projector, if I go up to that, for those watching, is going to probably show the 5 horse very close with Mulligan. And it's so hard to judge the pace. Like I was watching a race today. It was at John's Call on the turf. And the 6 horse, I forgot the name of the horse today, on Wednesday, was like this deep closer and ends up going to the lead and wiring the field. So who knows the pace, but they're showing here 2, 6, 7. So if I go back to see who the 2, 6, 7 are on the PPs here, this is in race 11. And the 2 is Twisted Ride. 6 is obviously Mulligan, and they're saying the 7, Encore, if that's how you pronounce it, are possible speed. So if those horses go Mulligan, I'll feel a lot better. If the pace projector is right, then I feel a lot better going against Mulligan. But I'm going to try and beat Mulligan. And the reason I'm more beating Mulligan than Vava is, I think Vava's a little better compared to the competition, but I also think that there's tougher competition for Mulligan in this race than there is for Vava in her race. I don't like the second choice either here. Or I shouldn't say either, because again, I don't hate Mulligan. I don't like Pilot, the 1. Now, I understand the horse can get a very good setup here if there is a pace, saving ground. But this horse who has that couple of good speed figures, but 2 back and that Churchill race, the grade 1, I thought had like a perfect trip just about. Was too wide, but sat behind a 3-way speed duel. Just a great setup. And then I didn't find an excuse last race. I mean, that Saratoga weekend, where it was the Belmont Stakes weekend at Saratoga, the speed was doing pretty well and closers weren't doing great. So if you want to make that excuse, but I didn't think the horse ran very much at all. And taking a short price in what I think is a very tough field here, I don't want Gun Pilot. Again, if you want him, that's fine. Don't let me talk you off a horse, but I'm against Gun Pilot. So that's a race that I like now, because we're talking about 2 of the favorites that I'm going to go against. So who am I using? Well, I'm going to spread a little bit to beat the favorites. Do you want to? I don't want to do all the talking like I usually do. Do you want to jump in, and then I'll just talk about the couple horses that I like if you don't mention them?
Sure. The horse on the far outside, Gosh, why do I pick horses that I can't pronounce? I'm definitely my father's son. Uh, Caligstro. I
I
don't
would
know.
have thought it was Cagliostro, but I think I've heard them pronounce the G as a hard G, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Cagliostro,
Oh, Cagliostro.
not sure.
This horse, wasn't a bad horse. They tried to put him on, tried him out the Triple Crown Trail, and he failed in the Louisiana Derby, so they backed off. But he's always trying. And then it seems like as soon as they added blinkers, it really put a lot of early speed into him, and he's done well. As he's again faced horses that are older, and so he as he got into his 4-year-old campaign, he's running against older, and he's prospered because of the addition of blinkers. So 9-2, I'm not crazy about the 92 price, but I guess it's warranted because Highland Falls won the Grade 3 Blame, and that Highland Falls is a decent runner. So that's the one I'm kind of leaning toward. There's one that I thought would be a bigger price. Is the 5-1 morning line Run Classic. I just think here's a horse that if you look back last year, when he was running early 2023, he was winning Grade 3s, competing in there, and then he had the long layoff, and he came back, won easy in an overnight stakes, and then they took him to Dubai to get buried. And then so they bring him back home, and it looks like he's again a serviceable horse that has Grade 3 potential. But again, maybe I'm hoping for a price because he's 5-1 morning line. I thought he'd be a little higher based on the other competition in here. And then you have Baby Yoda, who loves Saratoga, but I just don't see Baby Yoda, the former $10,000 maiden claimer from the Charles Frock barn in Maryland. Here, but you got to respect Baby Yoda because he runs his race at Saratoga. Where was the buyer that he ran an all-world buyer or something like that?
Early on,
Early on,
114,
yeah, the 114
September 21
Saratoga a couple years ago. So
3 years
yeah,
ago.
so yeah, I agree with you. I don't think Mulligan is a slam dunk here by any stretch of the imagination. So the ones that I like would be I'd go maybe eight and use 8 and 5 in my pick 5.
All right, well, we're very much on the same page. I don't want to repeat anything you said necessarily, but the 8 Cagliostro, or however you pronounce it, was 3 wide and basically a 3-way duel last time that kind of fell apart. The front, the stalkers did okay, but the race kind of fell apart. I thought the horse ran terrific, and yeah, I guess it's a step up here, but the horse ran really well that race. Could sit, had some speed to stay close. I'm having trouble with the program here. I was going to go to him, but I already showed him. And then the 5, I didn't want to interrupt you, but when you mentioned Run Classic went to Dubai to get his butt handed to him, whatever you said. In fact, I thought he ran a deceptively good race there. This was a horse who, where did I write? First of all, he had a 3 wide trip there where it was not an ideal trip. And then he's in the stretch and he's actually making a move with some other horses who are coming up and finish well. And he got bumped. It doesn't say it, I don't think, in the PPs if I scroll over, but he actually got bumped. Oh, it says hampered over 1 furlong out. He got bumped mid-stretch, I would call it, or a furlong out. I get the 8th pole. And it like totally messed him up. Like basically lost his stride and just he never really did any running after that. But I thought he ran really deceptively well with a wide trip, and I thought he was going to make a run. I don't know if he was winning, but I thought he'd be in the mix there. So that's to me a really impressive race, or more impressive than it looks, I should say. And that was a loaded field with Nakatomi, who I'll talk about in a second. Came in third that race, and he was going to be right near Nakatomi. I mean, the winner was a 6-length winner, so he only lost Nakatomi by 5 lengths with a horrible trip. So I like One Classic a lot. And then next time he comes back in the Smile Sprint you mentioned, and he came in second. The one thing I would say is maybe he needed the race off a little layoff coming back from Dubai, and secondly, it might have been a prep that kind of goes along. You
Yep.
need the race, it's a prep, but so maybe they were preparing him for this spot. I think the extra furlong actually helps him. So I really like One Classic a lot in this spot here. So 5 and 8. And the other horse that you did not mention, I like, which I didn't think I would like, is a 2, Twisted Ride. I was in Monmouth that weekend when Nakatomi won at Saratoga. He ran down Skelly, who was loose on the lead. And I singled Nakatomi and really liked the horse. I'm a big Nakatomi fan, and Nakatomi ran great that day. Skelly, even though he set a fast pace, he always does. That was actually slower for him. It looked like Skelly would be home free. Nakatomi ran him down. Well, guess what? Twisted Ride ran him down almost too. He just missed. He ran a great race. The only thing is, where did that come from? That's the question. But because he's a big price, because I'm going against the chalk, I don't want to get beat by a horse who, ran a monster race last time. Am I confident he can redo it or repeat it? No, but I think he has a chance to. So I'm on the 258 here. And because I'm trying to beat the favorites, I might throw in Baby Yoda if it's affordable, just because I don't want to get beat by him. I don't really see the other long shots as having much of a chance. So I wouldn't want to talk you off the Anchor, the 7, or the 3 full screen. I don't really, think they have much of a chance. So I'm 258, maybe the 4 in this spot, trying to spread to beat the 2 favorites. And it is a race I'll bet. And honestly, to bet it, while I'll key the 5, what's his name again? I forgot. One Classic. I'll box, because I'm trying to beat the favorites. I'll box the 2, 4, 5, 8. I'll box the 2, 5, 8, leaving out Baby Yoda. And then I'll key the 5 with the 2, 4, 8. And then the 5 with the 2, 8. So I'll have extra with that. So that's how I'm going to play the, and that's like doubles. I'm sorry. That's exactas. Triples. I don't know if I'm going to bet supers, because it's small field and chances are one of the favorites come in at least the top 4. But that's kind of how I'm going to play this race and try and get through it in the pick 5, beating the favorites. That's all I got.
All right, good enough. Well, let's move on to leg 3, which would be race 12 on Saturday on the Travers card. And it is the 7 furlongs on the dirt, grade 1 Alan Jerkins Memorial Stakes. Purses $500,000 for 3-year-olds, and we have a field of 11, very contentious, wide open race based on the God's gift to morning line making David Aragona, who has number 8, Bookham Dano, he of the Woody Stevens victory as the 7-2 morning line favorite. What do you say, Eric?
Well, first of all, I say I hope you weren't being sarcastic with the God's gift word. I don't
No,
think
that's with all due respect.
Exactly. Thank you. I want to clarify. Bow down. But
we won't talk about last week when we were trying to make the morning line and you nailed some and then you were off on some. So we all have our good and bad morning lines, let's say, including Mr. Aragon.
Yes, I bumped into him on the street I don't think he's listening to this, but I bumped him on the street last week at Saratoga and said a quick hello. So he was nice. He pretended to remember who I am, so he was nice. But he's terrific. Not only morning line, but his handicapping is outstanding too. He's like the one person I check and look to see and compare with after I go through my selections. But anyway, and how he sees a race. So this is as you said, this is a tough race, and this is a race in the pick 5. I would think people are spreading in a lot. I mean, I can see people going 6, 7 deep, people going short in the first 2 legs. So first leg, I'm kind of going short with everyone. Second leg, I'm going to be different with trying to beat the 2 favorites there. This leg, everyone's spreading. I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to spread a little bit, but not too much here. Again, there's so many horses that can win this race. I went through it. I'm like, oh, world record, really nice horse. Speakeasy, oh, good horse. Oh, domestic product, good horse. You can do that for every horse in this race. So I'm going to start with a horse. I guess the morning line favorite you said was Bookham Dano, even though it's not a big morning line favorite. So let's start by talking about that race that he was in last time. That's the Woody Stevens. And if you're watching on the screen, I have the 5 Prince Monaco, who was in that race also, the Woody Stevens. And that was Belmont Stakes Day. Now, that race, I was with a few of our mutual friends, and I love Bookham Dano. That like my whole day was basically I'm singling, I'm betting Bookham Dano. Anyone who wanted to listen, I said Bookham Dano, and Bookham Dano got the victory, and I felt great about it for many reasons. But Prince of Monaco ran a hell of a race. First of all, one reason I was so high on Bookham Dano, and not as much on Prince of Monaco. Prince of Monaco was coming off the long layoff. Bookham Dano was coming off a layoff too, I think since February, and I can go to the PPs in a second. But Prince of Monaco was coming off that long layoff. I said, now's the time to try and beat this horse. And in defeat, I earned a lot of respect for this horse. The horse had major trouble at the beginning of the race. Now, there was a really wicked pace in the race. It favored closers big time that race. So Prince of Monaco did get a good setup after that, but still the horrible start. And I still thought the horse ran an excellent race, and it was first off a layoff. So I'm very worried about Prince of Monaco here and like that horse. Bookham Dano, the other one, he got a great setup without that trouble that day. He came back and ran a nice race in Jersey, although he was life and death to win. I was fortunate enough. I was with our friend Tom and some of his buddies down in Monmouth a couple weeks ago. I guess the end of July. So it was that like 3 weeks ago. And one of the guys with us is an owner, and he's friendly with Derek Ryan and all. And I remember him saying something about Derek Ryan was really upset with Sammy Marin, the jockey. I guess he thought he got him in some kind of trouble early, and maybe I shouldn't even be saying this, but in the end, he was happy with him, so it was okay. But I think at the time he was like really upset there. But I mean, Bookham Dano was life and death. Did he have trouble? He didn't. I mean, it wasn't like the cleanest break, but I didn't think he had terrible trouble. And he did beat a nice horse. And I'll go to that one. That's Bookham Dano, the 8, beat Little Nye, the 11 horse, who's a nice horse. You might think, oh, Jersey horse, but there's a nice horse. And if you look, it was trained by Eddie Owens, and that was trained by Mark Casse. So I'm assuming, I don't know anything. Maybe you know how to look this up, or you have an idea or heard something, but I'm assuming it was like a private purchase after that race. But I do know that, the trainer of Bookham Dano said, Derek Ryan, like this was a really nice horse that they ran against in Little Nye. So I have respect for Little Nye. The question about the 11 Little Nye is, can will he do better at 7 furlongs, or can he, kind of repeat that and maybe even improve slightly at 7 furlongs? And he's had some slower looking works, which I think might be them trying to teach the horse to rate. Mark Casse is as hot as any trainer in the country right now, and especially at Saratoga. So I'm not against Little Nye. I'm going to try and leave out Bookham Dano, though, and I'm going to use Prince of Monaco. And again, I'm a fan of Bookham Dano, but I got to put my heart away and take out my head. He's going to be either the favorite or one of the favorites. He's coming off of a great trip win in the Woody Stevens, great setup, and a nice win in the Jersey Shore. But he beat one horse. The others aren't great. So can Bookham Dano win? Yeah, but I don't want to go like 7-8 deep here with all the chalk. So I'm going to try and beat him. I'm going to use a 5 Bookham Dano. I have a few others that I want to talk about, just like 2 more maybe. But again, let me turn it over to you, GQ, and see if you have any thoughts on those or anyone else. And then I will just wrap it up with my couple others.
I may have an answer about your Little Nye. Why? I looked up the race prior to the June 9th race, Little Nye, and it's the same owners from what I could see. Boardwalk, or maybe some of the owners, Boardwalk Racing, Billy Belford, and Jersey Pride Racing LLC.
Yeah, I see it here.
Right. And so possibly, maybe Eddie Owens doesn't have a trainer's license in New York.
Could be.
So he has to transfer the training duties to Casse. That's just a guess on my part, but doesn't necessarily mean there was a purchase and a trainer transfer. So,
right.
But no, I just wanted to throw that in. So you want my opinion now, or?
Yeah, no, that's kind of why I threw it to you. That's how it works. A little give and take,
I kind of feel the same way about Bookham Dano. I mean, look, I'm as you say, when I talk about a horse, I'm not going to repeat what you said, but I feel the same way. And I do remember the Woody Stevens, and yeah, because Prince of Monaco went off the favorite. He had a horrible start and still ran a bang up race. So he would definitely be the one more favorable. The interesting thing, and I know whenever I talk about a jockey and a jockey picking this mount or the over, you always poo-poo it, say it doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're talking about probably one of the top three riders in the nation, Flavian Pratt, and you're talking about the fact that um, he rode, I believe, five of the horses who are entered in here in their last race or last several races. And it's not like he was riding for some no-name trainer, okay? He rode the one world record for a Brissett. He rode domestic product for Chad Brown. He rode Prince of Monaco for Baffert. He rode Timberlake for Cox. And I just think it's more interesting that maybe he knows what side of the bread it's buttered on, and he knows that he'd prefer to ride for Chad Brown because he's probably one of the top turf riders, and Chad Brown has all the good turf horses, so that's why. And but I still just wanted to point that out. But domestic product, I don't get why he's running here. I think the horse needs more than 7 furlongs. So that's why at second choice 9-2, I would pass on domestic product and go for, maybe a horse that is still, at least in his Brisnets, the one world record. Every single race of his career, he's increased his speed, and he has done the same there with his buyers, which is really interesting because I'll just typically the Brisnet speed figures are about 5 to 10 points higher than buyers. So if you're looking, and if you're not, I'll read them off. But in his maiden race, his debut, he ran a 69 Brisnet, but a 75 buyer. That's usually reversed. In his second race, he ran a 95 Brisnet and an 89. Well, that's more typical of Briz versus buyers. In the third race, he ran a 92 buyer, 97 Briz. Again, that's more in line with the typical. Here, he ran a buyer in the Amsterdam, a 101, and he only ran 100 on Brisnet. I mean, that's an anomaly as far as I'm concerned. Seeing that difference, I don't understand. But still, in both cases, every race he's improved that speed figure. So who knows how much better he can get?
Just to jump in, because I'm not a huge speed figure guy per se, and I know this, Sheik. Most of the people out there know this, but it's kind of how you get that figure too. I mean, world record, just he's a nice horse. Don't get me wrong, he can win this race, but I mean, he just jumped out to a very easy lead, and yeah, he ran real fast, but and we'll get to maybe Jefferson Street, who came in second in a moment, but I mean, he had every advantage in that race to do it on his own. So could he win? Of course, but it's just not a horse for me. World record.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No, I'm not saying I'm in love with the horse.
Yeah.
I'm just pointing out angles that might be the reason why he has a stronger possibility to win than his 8-1 morning line. Yeah. I mean, if people are in love with Prince Monaco, and I should be one of them based on what we both said about his Woody Stevens, quarter one is a steal. Because you're getting what, 7-5 in the Woody Stevens?
Yeah, but it is a much, much, much tougher field, I think. The Woody Stevens, he had Bookham Dano, and I mean maybe like one other horse of that caliber at most, where in this field there's like 8 horses of that caliber. So it's just a lot deeper. The 10 Jefferson Street, just because we kind of were talking about it, I'll go back to you if you want in a sec, but the 10 Jefferson Street, this is a horse I really have liked for a while now, and finally put it all together 2 back, June 7th at Saratoga. And yeah, you can argue, it was good spot. I don't know, it was a little wide that day at Saratoga, got the 102 by. I just thought ran really well that day. And then last race in the Amsterdam was I mean, I liked the horse a lot, but way over bet. And then world record just, easily wired the field. This horse did his best to run down world record. Had no shot. In this race, there should be more pace. Jefferson Street doesn't have to be that far back. You can be close to it. And I just, because the last race buyer, I think you're going to get a good price. I mean, 12-1 is a very good price on this horse. So I'm high on Jefferson Street. That would probably be my top pick just for the price. I don't think the most likely winner, but I want to give this horse another try in a race where it's a lot more fair for him. Even though it's a tougher race, there's a lot more fair pace for him and setup for him. So I'm on Jefferson Street. Now, I did want to talk about one or two more. Do you want to jump in with anything else first?
Well, all I was going to say is we haven't mentioned him, but I think he's probably worth mentioning, and I'll let you talk about him if one of them was going to be Timberlake. No.
Win. No, I just don't have much to say, to be honest, which is shocking for people. I have nothing against Timberlake shortening up here, coming out of the the Derby Trail, the Oak Lawn Derby Trail, where he ran, respectable. He won the I guess he won the Rebel and came fourth in the Arkansas Derby. The Mystic Dan came in third, and of course came back to win the Derby, but whatever. He ran fine in the Haskell against two tough horses, Dornock and Mindframe, are two of the best 3-year-olds. So, on the cutback, he definitely rates a chance. I don't have a big opinion on Timberlake either way. He can definitely win this. I'm not in love with the horse. One horse I want to mention, which is a little bit of a price, and even though I don't know if you'll like him, the 2 Speak Easy. This is a horse who I remember the race. I was also at Monmouth that weekend, so he ran at Saratoga, and he was coming off a layoff, and he looked really tough. And there was only one other horse in that race, Mariachi. I think it was a 4-horse that day, who I thought had a chance to beat him. And I tried to beat him with Mariachi, and I failed to do so. And the horse ran really well again, and I just think this horse has a lot of talent. I saw some of the other speed figures I think were a little lower, even though Beyer has him a little higher. So I think the time form might have been lower. I can't remember. But anyway, I think this horse, yes, lacks the experience of the others, but I think this horse has a shot too. So just to recap, go ahead. Yeah, jump in.
We'll make a friendly bet.
Go ahead.
I'd say world record beats Speak Easy.
All right, we'll make a friendly bet.
Finishes ahead of Speak Easy.
I know what you mean. All right.
They're both 8-1, right? So
all right. Is this like a trading places bet? We're going to bet $1?
They have equal chance to lose.
All right. I will gladly take that bet.
Okay.
Is it $1 like trading spaces?
Oh, yes.
Or trading places?
Yes. $1 is fine.
I'll send you my Venmo.
That's within my budget.
All right. So anyway, I'm on the 2. You mentioned domestic product, I think, right? You talked about him already.
Yeah. Just thinking he needs more distance.
Yeah, I don't know if I 100% agree. He's fine. I
really don't think there's a ton of pace in here.
Yeah, I don't think it's as fast as it could be early, but all these horses are capable.
I see Otto the Conqueror and Little Nye. All the rest don't need to be beaten ass for the lead.
No, that's true. It doesn't have to be a fast pace. It could be, and it's New York, so it probably won't be. The 4 Vetriano coming out of the state bred allowance, it's not for me. I'm easily there. I know you might like that horse. I heard you like Cox. Not there's anything wrong with that, but no, I'm just kidding. That was a bad joke.
The family
Seinfeld
show.
Reference. It was a Seinfeld reference. We mentioned Prince Monaco, Timberlake. So I'm basically on the 2, the 5, that Speak Easy, Prince of Monaco, and Jefferson Street, who is the 10 horse. Those are the main ones I'm playing with. I might add 1 or 2 more. You can kind of get an idea where I'm going, but that's what I'm going to do. If I single the last race, which we'll get to momentarily, if I single that race also, then I'll go deeper here. I'll go like 6, 7 deep here. Otherwise, I'm about 4 deep here, maybe 11 also. So 2, 5, 10, 11, and possibly 1 or 2 more. All right, you want to move on to the Travers?
Yes, might as well. Leg 4 is the feature race of the day, the grade 1. $1.25 million. The grade 1 Travers Stakes at 1 1/4, featuring a field of 8. And the filly Torpedo Anna is breaking from the 1 hole, and she's 3-1 co-choice with the 8 Fierceness. What do you say? And then I'll go on my rant. Oh, wait a minute, wait a
This
minute,
is
wait a minute, wait a minute. Time out, time out.
Mhm.
All right, so here's what I'll do. So that since you always mock everything that I predict, I'll tell you how I see the pace coming up, and then you can bring up your little time form. Don't open up yet. Don't
Oh,
open
hurry
up
up. I'm
yet.
going to it. Hurry up.
Okay. So the early speed is the 1, 3, 5, 7. But in reality, I think they'll say the 1 and the 7 will be on the lead with the 3 and the 5 closely behind. Then you'll have fierceness, fifth right behind them. The
Fifth.
four horse corporate power will be mid pack with the 2 and the 6 as your closers.
I don't see a world. If fierceness is fifth, it's because he stumbled out of the gate or something.
Well, wait.
I'm showing it now, the pace projector.
Fifth as far as being close to the pace.
All right.
So yeah, so time form, they're wrong.
Yeah. For those
Yeah,
listening and not watching, it has
yeah,
Torpedo Anna on the lead
they're wrong.
with the
No.
7 door knock and
And
the 8
they're
fierceness
full of
right
it.
with her.
I can tell you right now, Junior Alvarado learned something on the 5, batting down in the Jim Dandy, and there is no way in hell he's going to settle behind horses. If he breaks cleanly, if he gets a quick break and he finds himself, up on the lead with fierceness on his outside and Torpedo Anna on his inside, I guarantee you he's not going to back off.
I'm not great at judging paces. It's not one of my strengths here,
But you're great at criticizing.
I'm very good at criticizing. I'm very good. If there was a job where you could just criticize people, I'd be great in that job.
You shut down that pace projector real quick. You didn't want to embarrass time form when it doesn't come true, that they're totally wrong, that fierceness is going to be 3 wide going into the turn, trying to keep up with batting down and Torpedo Anna.
To defend your point, batting down didn't break very sharply last race, or he might have been close to the lead. To go against your point, I just don't think he's fast enough to get to the lead. But
well, let's put it this way. He ran at Churchill Downs a few days before the Derby, a 1.25 mile race, 4/5 of a second faster than the Derby was run.
Okay.
So
I don't think that's
take
true.
that for what it's worth.
Oh, a few days before, you're saying?
And I remember I remember when we did the Jim Dandy in that week for the podcast,
Right.
you criticized me for saying Batten Down was going to be a player, in the exotics, saying I don't see him being fast. He had an easy lead, and some horse that's still running that ran second to him that day. That's who that was your.
And he came in a distant third. Congratulations in a 7-horse field.
And where did your horse?
I don't know what you're making up stories about the Derby.
Make a left-hand turn into the stable and wanted not to embarrass you by finishing 29 lengths behind everybody else?
Yeah, well, exactly. It's like if I'm racing someone or if I'm playing basketball against someone one-on-one and I see, or whatever sport, and I see him
quit.
I all of a sudden come up with an injury, so I have an excuse to lose. Perhaps that's what my horse did that day.
Right. But, as I always say, they laughed at Columbus.
Yes, so. I'll stop picking 29-1 shots. But anyway, now first of all, I want to go back to something quickly, even though we're going over our time here. What lies were you spewing about? He ran faster pace than the Derby pace.
He finished 4/5 of a second faster than the Derby time on April 30th.
Oh, I don't give a crap because he walked on the lead. You go jog 3.5 legs around the track, and then you can finish strong. The Derby was like a crazy pace where they were stumbling.
Right. So why didn't all the closers, finish so strongly and beat the time of 2:02.49? They couldn't break 2:03.
I guess not. I don't I don't care that much about the time of the race. It
I
depends
know
what everyone's
time
doing.
only matters when you're in prison.
There you go. All right, so let's go through the field as quickly as we can because I don't have a strong opinion, which I know is not good to say when you're doing a show because you're supposed to have opinions on everything. I just don't like coming on and saying I have opinions when I don't. I think Torpedo Anna is going to run really well. I think she's going to be a little over bet, but I think she's going to run really well. She got off to a slow start last time. She's demolished the girls, who are not a great group, but not a terrible group. If she can sit a trip, like if she can sit third, fourth, and actually save ground behind the pace, I think she has a very good chance. I don't know if she can do that, but I think she can. So she's always something has a chance. Sierra Leone, who listen, I like this horse going to the Derby. I like the Japanese horse a little more, Forever Young, who would have won if Sierra Leone didn't impede that horse. But the my problem with Sierra Leone is I just don't know if he's getting better. He's very good. I know your problem is that you think he has a disease called seconditis, but my problem is that I just don't know if he's getting better. Yeah, the buyer went up a little bit, but I mean, the Belmont Stakes day, speed was good then. So the close was fairly impressive, even though he didn't get the job done. And then last time, I thought he had a more fair track to close into, and he's fine. He can win. He'll probably be in the mix. But to me, I want a horse who's kind of up and coming, not a horse who's already done maybe his best running. And that can be wrong. He's young. He's improving maybe, but it's kind of horse I would lean against in a pick 5 sequence. I know, again, you would because he doesn't get the job done. I would because I think other horses are going to step forward, or I don't know if he will. If you want to jump in at any point, jump in. I don't have to talk about all of them, but
No, I'm done with Sierra Leone. 3 strikes, you're out. I mean, had him 36-1 in a Derby future. Broke my heart there. Came back with him in the Belmont and did the same. And then I was back on him in the Jim Dandy. So I'm done with him.
all right. Well, your problem is betting him at 2-5 and 4-5 and 7-5, whatever he is. Unmatched Wisdom. Listen, if I don't have an opinion on a race and I think it's fairly wide open, like I heard today, I won't name names, but I was watching that Fox telecast of the Saratoga card today, and one of the what's that? No, it's not him. It's not him. No, I hope Andy wouldn't do this.
Gosh,
one of the other guys said
wouldn't want to say anything negative about Mr. Sterling.
No, of course not. But he was very nice to me. He came on our show and I met him at Belmont. He was very nice. He hung out for a while. But anyway, regardless, people want to hear that. The person said, "Oh, there's a wide open race. Anyone can win," and then went on to pick the 4-5 favorite. I'm like, how do you do that? And of course, the horse I think came in second or third. It was the John's Call race. It was the 2-horse Chad Brown. It may have been like 6-5, not 4-5. It was like a 5 or 6 horse field. But said, "Oh, wide open. I could see anyone winning it," and then I'm picking the favorite. So to me in this race, I don't really have a strong opinion. So why do I want to take too short a price? So I'm going to leave out Sierra Leone in my pick 5s. Unmatched Wisdom, the 3 and the 4 Corporate Power. I'm going to use both of these horses. Maybe they're just up against it because the others have run against better horses, have more seasoning. But I thought these horses are interesting horses. I thought Unmatched Wisdom, the 3 ran really well 2 back in that allowance race. And then the last race, yeah, had it his own way. I don't want to hold it against him, though, that he had it his own way. Like with World Record, we talked about last race, he had his own way. And I'm holding it against him a little bit because I didn't love the race before that as much as it looks like. I thought the speed figure was dressed up a little. So I have reasons not to like him regardless of that race. Where in this spot, I liked Unmatched Wisdom going into the last race. So, and I think the horse can sit. He didn't come from far back, but I think the horse can sit, doesn't have to get embroiled in the pace stool. I know you're telling me Pratt chose another horse, so this horse can't win, but I'm going to use the 3. I actually like the 4 Corporate Power. If I had to make like one pick, I would just go with the bigger price. Then that's the 4 Corporate Power, who kind of like I talked about Jefferson Street last race, just Unmatched Wisdom, the 3 horse, if that's the name, I forgot it right. Yep. Unmatched Wisdom had the easy lead. Corporate Power didn't have much of a chance, was really trying to run that horse down. Now, listen, they're stepping up. Timeout came in 3rd. It came back the other day. I don't think he ran great. We covered a race last week. I think he was okay, but I can't remember. But anyway, Unmatched Wisdom, Corporate Power. I'm using both of those. I think Corporate Power could get a very good setup here potentially. Batten down, we mentioned already. I'm against Anna Marie. Listen, if you think the race is going to fall apart, you want to take him. I just think he's had some setups that he hasn't got the job done. So I'm going to go against Anna Marie, but I wouldn't talk you off a 20-1 shot. Dornoch is probably the horse to beat. He beat Mindframe, who might be the most talented horse. 3-year-old just was unseasoned. But Dornoch ran really well. My only fear with Dornoch is where, as we get to like fierceness and stuff, there are horses that can sit if they need to. I don't know this horse can sit. This horse basically has to go to the lead, but it's a very, very tough horse. So I like Dornoch. I think he's a horse to beat. I don't know if this race sets up for him well. And then fierceness, who I've never really been a fan of, I'm warming up more to. And I heard some smart people not like him, so that worries me a little bit. But I know the on again, off again pattern, the 8-horse fierceness, runs good, runs bad, runs good, run bad. But that, like, I wasn't that impressed with the Florida Derby race because he had an easy lead against a shitty field, if I can say the word shitty. And then the Derby had no hope. But because I didn't like him in the race before that, like I crossed out the Derby, I didn't love him last time at all. I was willing to bet against him, knowing he could beat me. And I thought he ran very well. I mean, he had the outside post, which helped. He was able to sit, stalk the pace there. And I just thought he ran a nice race, held off fierceness. I think that, you question a mile and a quarter. I think they could have gone around again, and Sierra Leone wasn't catching this horse. So I'm actually sadly liking fierceness a little bit. So I'm, again, I don't really have an opinion here. And the reason I'm leaving out some other favorites like Bookham Dano, like that favor in the race 11, whose name I forgot. And the last race I'm leaving out favorites. Thank you.
Mulligan.
Right, thanks. So I'm leaving out because I am going to use a little chalk here in a spread, but I'm going to use a 3 and 4 as my price horses. I'm going to try and beat Sierra Leone. I'll probably Torpedo Anna, very likely to use, and then Dornoch Fierceness I might use. So I know that's not a great thing to do, but because other than Bob, I'm not using any favorites. I don't think I'm okay to do that. It kind of hurts my value and all that, but that's what I'm leaning towards here. Vicky, you want to? I know you talked about the race, but you want to say anything else about the race?
I mean, it's kind of shocking to see fierceness in this race, simply because of what both Fletcher and Rapoli said right after the Jim Dandy, saying he's shown that he doesn't recover quickly, and so they were willing to bypass this race. But I'm sure the competitiveness behind Rapoli and wanting to be in the spotlight, they threw the horse in here. So, and as you said, he's good, he's bad, he's good, he's bad, he's good, he's bad. Could be excuses for the bad ones. I know when he brings his A game, nobody's beating him based on the figures he puts up, but I can't back a horse when the trend for this race is a bad race.
Yeah,
whether that's a stupid way of looking at things, but you got to believe in something. So that's why I believe in it.
And I'm not betting the horse per se. If I was betting the race, I'd just bet the 4 and maybe the 3 and key them. But I'm just trying to get through a pick 5, which I know is not good to just try and survive. But this is the one leg that I'm just hoping to get through. It's my least, believe it or not, even though it's the biggest race, my least confident leg here. And I don't care what the trainer said. I mean, look, on 4 weeks, he ran maybe his best race in winning the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So, I take a grain of salt what trainers and jockeys say. Not that they're lying per se, but I don't care what they say personally. Did you want to move on, or you want to go more?
Yeah, let's wrap it up with the last leg, which is race 14. It is a 1 mile on the dirt, $50,000 maiden claimers for 3-year-olds and upward, where we have 12 entered, but Saratoga does its best Maryland Million Day impersonation when you have 12 entered, but only 10 can run due to the 1 mile configuration of the Saratoga track. So 10 will run, 12 are entered. Where are you going with this final leg of the pick 5?
I think Chuck Simon tweeted out about a week ago that he'd like to blow up the Wilton Chute. And I think I wrote something about, I give him an alibi if he needs it. It is one of the dumbest things ever, because the reason it was built, and I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure I'm accurate, is because they built the new whatever clubs they have there, the fancy seating that they charge a fortune for, and it starts like right in front of those people. So if you're paying thousands of dollars to watch the race, you get to see the start of this race, where if you're an average Joe like you and I, we can't see the beginning of the race. Secondly, I mean, most of you know this because if you're listening to the show and watching, you probably bet Saratoga and follow somewhat closely. The inside horses have to like make a right turn to get away from the rail, or else they're going to go into the rail. The outside horses don't want to get caught 6 wide or 8 wide, so they run in. If you're in the middle, you either get sandwiched or you got to go to the lead, and it's basically like a free for all. So to me, this is like the dumbest thing. And when someone gets killed, they'll end up changing things, and unfortunately, it's going to take something like that. So anyway, that's my Wilton shoot rant, but. This is a race where I could single, but I'd like to use a little more because I'm against the favorites. Now, the horse I'm singling is not exactly a long shot. I'll scroll down to the 10, Deputy Mischief. Now, this is a maiden 50. So the 10, Deputy Mischief for Linda Rice, IRAD, they are dropping down here. And I thought this horse ran a pretty deceptively good race last time when he chased, stalked, whatever you want to say, Digital Ops, who was 14-1 that day. Digital Ops, of course, came back to run 87 Buyer. He's a nice horse from Chad. Pentathlon went on to do something really, really good too. In fact, if I click on it here, and we can see, because I forgot I didn't write down what Pentathlon did, but he came back to run 96 Buyer and broke his maiden. Not the toughest field, but still, did a good job there. In fact, some of those are coming out of that race, I think we'll talk about. But I like horses who, as you know, GQ, who kind of battle on the lead against better horses, especially if it's a fast pace. And that's what this horse did. And now they're dropping. So to me, the 10, I don't want to say is a horse to beat. It's a horse that I want to bet the most, adding blinkers. And there really isn't a ton of speed on paper. It's New York, so you never know what's going to happen. But I assume Irad's just going to try and clear from the outside. And I think he does get clear. And I think he has a very good chance at winning this race. Now, there is a rule in betting, especially in New York, and that rule is when a trainer has 2 horses, you have to bet the longer price of the 2 horses. So it's the other babka theory, right? Like another Seinfeld reference, right? They didn't have the chocolate babka, they had the cinnamon or whatever it was. I might have reversed that one. But anyway, the 7 Always Smart. Now, there's a horse who I don't dislike at all. 2 back, I didn't think ran great. Ran against 40, so a little weaker than this, but actually was off the turf 40, so it was a weaker field because those were turf horses running for 40, which is, and on turf, they run higher than dirt. So 40 on turf is probably more like 25 on dirt. Plus the fact that now you're running against horses who are meant for the turf mostly, instead for the MTOs. So it was a weaker field, and I thought that it's set up for closers. So I'm sure I didn't bet this horse last time on July 31st. Always Smart, the 7 I'm talking about in the last race here. And I thought he ran really well because speed held that day and he closed. So the difference was he was running for Linda last race, and I think he improved big time for Linda. And if there is any pace here, which I don't know if there is, this horse has a somewhat decent shot. So I'm not against the 7 at all. And the other horse I like is inside of the 7. That's a 6 Kings, maybe a little sign there. 6 Kings gets the 6 post. For Joe Sharp, who is having a pretty good meet overall. I know 11% winners I have in my program here, but in the money a lot, and this horse has been running pretty well. Coming off a turf race, which I'll kind of ignore, assuming he just didn't like the turf. If he just sucked because he got worse, that's not good for me. But I thought it ran a pretty good race the time before that. Had a little wide trip against Better June 15th at Churchill Downs. Django ran in Saratoga. I can click on that too, even though I know we're going over a lot of time here. But just real quick, Django came back and he ran in the curl. I knew he ran a big race. He ran in that curl with unmatched wisdom and corporate power and timeout. Ended up running 6. I didn't love him that race because I thought, he had a decent setup the time before, but I didn't think he was impossible. So he ran against a pretty good horse in Django. This is a maiden 50. So, Django would be a big favorite in this spot. So I thought the 6 ran well. And if you toss that turf race, he has a big shot here too. So I'm mostly on the 6, 7, but especially the 10. So I'm either going to single the 10 or more likely I'm going to go 6, 7, 10. The only other horse, there was 1 or 2 things I want to mention before we wrap up. I know we're in a hurry, but GQ, let me throw to you. So I'm not talking 12 minutes in a row. Tell me your thoughts on those or anything else or questions or whatever you have about the race.
Well, the other thing about 6 Kings, since you just exited 6 Kings, I mean, they're taking the blinkers off of the horse, and Joe Sharp wins at 23%, double what his win percentage is uh, when he does this move with blinkers off. Um, I like to entertain myself with these horses that have failed to break their maiden, at the maiden special weight. The 2 horse Ready Storm. Uh, Everybody likes to give Rapoli, a bunch of crap and stuff like that. And here you gotta kind of feel sorry for him and the other deep pocket Saint Elias, who paid 1,000,000, 50,000 for this horse at the auction. Tried him 4 times on the turf, got close twice. You knew the tea leaves said the horse wasn't all that in his debut when he went off 12-1. Now all of a sudden they're dropping him down for 50 and on the dirt. So is this just the horse is bred to like the turf, but is this just giving up on the horse? Does the horse have issues? That's the head game every handicapper has to decide when trying to figure out who to play. The 8 horses, a Chad Brown Klarovich, which shocks me that they haven't even tried this horse on the turf. The horse has run 7 times and has cashed the check, been in the money 6 of those times. He's not impossible, but they're finally putting the for sale sign on him. And a podcast would not be a podcast unless we look at number 9, Trumptastic, with the GQ angle of ding, 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 second time blinkers. So there's Trumptastic in the political time frame that we're in, a few months from electing a new president. Trumptastic has to get a nod with second time blinkers. Other than that's all I got for this race. So do you want to wrap it up for the day and
No, I'm
throw
gonna
out
a couple things
any
about the
other
race.
wisdom?
Yeah, just real quick. I'll be very quick, but anyway, Trumptastic, I don't really like, not just because of the name, but the fact that I thought he had pretty much a perfect trip at this level last time. So I'm against Trumptastic. The 8, you mentioned Treaty Obligation, could win. I didn't think had much of an excuse last race. Yeah, it was against better, but several of these have been against better. Maybe they're just trying to, Chad's trying to win the trainer title and Klarovich the owner title, but I'm against that horse. And you mentioned the 2 about the drop down and all. They paid $1 million, whatever, for him. Like, they didn't even try him on the dirt and they're selling him. So at least try him on the dirt, right? So to me, that's a play against. Could he win? Sure. So I'm against the 2, 8, 9, who are, I think, the 3 favorites on. I mean, it's very close. It's not like big favorites, but I think those are the 3 morning line favorites or thereabouts. So that's why I'm using the 10, but I don't mind spreading a little bit because I'm not going with those 3 favorites. So other than the 10, 6, 7, the only other 2 I would think about adding, the 1 Safi Joseph, the honest mistake there. Safi Joseph's horses are just running lights out. They somehow have second wins. He's got Navarro-like numbers, not to imply anything. But the horse did no running on the turf last time. But who knows? It's Safi Joseph. I'm just going to be honest. And number 4, Holton, I thought, he's run some decent dirt races, I guess. I didn't love his race back in October. I thought he had a good setup and all, but he was a 2-year-old putting up 60s speed figures. Last race, a little better level than this. He had a good setup there. There was some pace in the race for him to get into, but he was really pulling the whole way and wasn't that comfortable, I didn't think. I don't know, the change of jockey will matter, but Alvarado maybe a little more patient. I think can give this horse a little better ride. Nothing against Lozcano. I think he's terrific, but the horse were just pulling. I mean, sometimes there's nothing you can do as a jockey. So the 1 and 4, the other. So if I do spread, it would be 10, then the 6, 7, then the 1, 4. I'd be 5 deep at most. And again, the way I bet pick 5s, I'm betting a couple different tickets. Probably on 1 ticket at least, I'll definitely single the 10, where I can spread a little more in the Woody, in the Allen Jerkins. But that's kind of how I'm playing this race, and in general, how I see the sequence. So I think that's all I got. Any final words of wisdom?
No, you and everyone else in the horse racing world can enjoy Saratoga. on Saturday, I will be at the Big T enjoying the 4 furlongs and corn dogs and all the good stuff that the Maryland State Fair has to offer. And remember, folks, if you are entertained or you feel like we've spewed even a small bit of wisdom, click on the subscribe to motivate us to continue to do this kind of stuff for you. Eric, enjoy the weekend. You're counting down the days of your summer vacation, correct?
Yeah, I go from no work to working 16-hour days in 2 weeks. So not exciting. Enjoy Timonium. Good luck with everything. I hope to see you on the feed. I was joking somewhat at the beginning, but I wasn't joking.
No, I'll find my way one day. At least one of the 7 days, but even though I plan on being out there every day.
Yes, so, maybe you can be in the paddock analyzing the my favorite races, the 4-turn 6-furlong races. I enjoy those 4-turn 6 furlongs.
Yes. I actually enjoy the 1/16 5-turn.
There you go. You get to see the Ferris wheel like 6 times going around every time. So anyway, we went way over time, but it was a big card. It's a big day, so I think it's okay for once. Hope you stayed with us, and like GQ said, hope we didn't bore you too much. Have a great weekend. Enjoy. Should be good weather. Knock on wood. Ta-ta. Maybe. It would have been good if I ended on ta-ta, but I did not. So
no?
That again. No, we're still on. All right. For real this time, folks. Have a great weekend. Ta-ta.